وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah khair to Muhammad for that beautiful Quran recitation. So with that, we'll get started, inshallah. Just real quick, though, unfortunately, Imam Asif Hirani couldn't join us tonight, but alhamdulillah, we're blessed to have Mr. Sami Kadovich join us instead. So if you guys don't know, Sami Kadovich is the executive director at MBIC. He's also a lawyer, so alhamdulillah, we're very blessed to have him talk to us about Dr. versus Shirk. So I'll pass off the mic to Brother Sami Kadovich now.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. One more time. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, it's an honor to be here with you this evening. I have my little kahwa house coffee. No, it has not opened up yet. This is from Patterson. I spent the day up there. Just as a reminder, I was visiting somebody in the hospital, a young man who's in terminal cancer right now. And also we went to a janazah, also somebody who passed from cancer at ICPC, Islamic Center, MSA County. So just a reminder of where we're all headed. Inshallah ta'ala, please remember, quite a few remember brothers and sisters in our community who are suffering right now from cancer, and some of them quite young. Inshallah ta'ala, give them success in their struggle and give them full shifa, inshallah. I was asked to just talk a little bit about the concept of Tawheed and Shirk. What I'm going to do is maybe in light of the situation that we are in, post Tuesday, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to wake up. In terms of what we are facing in the coming years, and how our belief will help us to navigate that. And so what I want to do, and what we also experienced and saw in this past year, 13 months or so, and how that fits into the idea of Tawheed and shirk. So I'm not going to do so much of a theological discussion other than touching on the general concept, which alhamdulillah, inshallah ta'ala, we are all familiar with. But rather to try to situate ourselves in understanding where we are as of today and what is the world in which we're living. And then if we can understand that, we can also then understand what is similar or what is different from what I would call a tawhidic worldview and how we should be conducting our affairs. Because if we don't have a foundational understanding of who we are and where we're situated, we're not going to know what to do. And there is much that needs to be done, especially by you, the young, or those who are in college, and the efforts and struggles, inshallah ta'ala, that you're going through as a personal level, but also at a community-wide level, and inshallah ta'ala, at a more profound level, and what our responsibility is as Muslims. So, how do we situate ourselves? Where are we, and what world are we living in? Sometimes we don't give this enough thought, and so we don't really fully comprehend the world in which we're living. And I don't mean living in America or living in New Jersey, in this technological world, but what is the foundational worldview of the world that we are living in, that we have taken in wholesale through our educational system, through just living, through pop culture, through our classes, through whatever it is, we sometimes don't even understand what it is. How do we situate ourselves, for example, in somebody of your age, living here, compared to, let's say, a Muslim brother and sister, maybe living in another part of the world 200-300 years ago? What's the difference? You're both Muslim. You both practice the 5 pillars. You understand what the deen is. You understand the Quran, inshallah ta'ala, or what's expected of you. But what's the difference in the world in which you're living? Oftentimes in academia, and some of you may have taken classes on this, especially in the social sciences, they discuss the idea of modernity. When we think of modernity or the age of modernity, and now they say we're living in post-modernity. But let's just look at what is modernity, because nobody really knows what is post-modernity. And if you've taken a class, anyone taking classes on this? This is the first time you're hearing this, or no? First time for most of you? When we say modernity, what do we mean? What comes to mind? Anything? The shout. Technology. Okay, people think technology. Okay, globalized world through communications. Yes.
Urbanization.
Sorry?
Urbanization.
Urbanization. Okay. Good concepts. Anything else? Sorry? How things are where? In the present moment, how things are in the present moment. Okay, good. So usually when we think of modernity, we're thinking of the modern world, and we think of modern as our cell phones. When I was younger, modern was flushing toilets, right? You know, these things that technology has brought us. And we think of that at the modern world being our cell phones or our ways of communication. But modernity is actually a philosophical concept. It's a philosophical concept that dictates what the world is, or at least that's what we're told by in the social sciences. What is modernity? Modernity is a worldview that arises outside or following what we know as the Enlightenment and post-Enlightenment movement that took place primarily in Europe and a little bit later as well, was reflected in the United States, of a movement of thought and ideas, right? And so we have these philosophers who come about with these new Enlightenment ideals that we hear of about brotherhood, equality of man, nation state is also a product of that.
Secularization is a product of those thoughts and ideas. And there's many philosophers and thinkers that come out of this movement that dictated the world in which we are living in. And this occurred about about 200 years ago, 250 years ago, maybe 300 years ago, starting at that time and moving forward with many contributors to that. We all hear of Locke and Hobbes and the debates that they have. Okay. All right, alhamdulillah. So inshallah ta'ala, so I'm just going to touch on this concept. What is modernity? What characterizes it? Well, there's many ideas, like I said, that come of it. But fundamentally, modernity, if you distinguish what was the quote-unquote modern world and what was the pre-modern world, in the whole world, it was the role of religion and the divine. In other words, every society pre-modern, as they usually define pre-modern, the modern world, and now some argue we're in postmodern world, but the pre-modern world in every culture and society was a understanding that you were going to structure your entire worldview based upon centralizing the divine. What was the divine? Well, that depended on the culture and the society, whether it was a god of some sort, whether it was multiple gods, what have you. But it was this idea of the divine was going to dictate in which everything in society was expressed. How our cities were made, how our interactions with one another were done, even our food, culture, everything was surrounding around this concept of divine, which we can say the religion. The modern world and the post-enlightenment thinkers, they displace this concept and they create a new concept. And the concept is, or the determining factor in which you're going to shape your whole society and worldview is based upon man. Religion can play a part, but that's not going to be the determining factor. You say, well, how is man in the center now? Man is in the center through what was thought to be reason and intellect. That man was going to be the criterion by which right and wrong is through the use of the mind. And this influenced, like I said, all sciences, this influenced society as a whole. So the first characteristic of the modern world was what reason and rationality was going to be put centered. Not that you didn't have reason and rationality in the pre-modern world, but that was used to oftentimes understand the nature of religion and the divine. So we're going to supplant religion. Number two, in the modern world, there was still the concept of truth. And this is a distinguishing characteristic between the modern and postmodern. Postmodern argues there is no truth. The modern world still adheres to the concept that there is a concept of truth. And it is something that you can attain. It's just about refining your argument, more studies, etc. It's out there. The truth with a capital T is out there. It just needs to be refined and pursued. The third characteristic was the idea of sameness, that you can find sameness throughout the world at large in anything you do, whether it's in sciences or social sciences. You're going to find sameness. It's again just determining what that is. And the fourth characteristic was this idea of progress. Progress is what takes you forward. We're moving forward to a glorious future. We're moving forward to a glorious future in the sciences, in technology. We're moving forward, and that we're going to attain something. The world is going to get better. So these were the ideas that the Enlightenment brought and the modern world brought. What happened? Very quickly, the 20th century happened. The 20th century happened. What happened in the 20th century? Well, we killed more people in World War I, World War II, etc. in the 20th century more than we killed in all of humanity. Where's the progress? Where's the moving forward? We discovered new cultures and civilizations and whatever, and we started to understand that maybe the truth with a capital T that we presumed came out of the European Enlightenment, and that was the ultimate truth, was actually maybe could be challenged on other realms. So all of these things began to be challenged in the 20th century. That people began to question the whole foundation of the modern world. And so thus, we have this postmodern critique of what's what, etc. What's postmodernity? That's a whole other discussion. Nobody really knows, but it's definitely a disenchantment with the concept of modernity. I say all this because we have to understand this is where we're coming from. So when we're talking about Tawheed and Shirk, what is the world view? We have ingested, and through osmosis, through our teachings, and the whole world, Muslim world is not an exception, through the colonial enterprise, all of this entered everything.